Hey, this is Politics with Laura. How you doing? Okay, day 2, Fani Willis disqualification trial. So far, the first one, oh my goodness, I have to say it has been rather interesting, eye-opening. I had to do additional research to make sure what I was looking at was what I was looking at. And when I thought one thing, I'm like, okay, like yesterday, I have to say, well, the last 2 days, Ashley Merchant, she really drove me nuts because I'm sitting here thinking, why are you keep on asking these questions? And then it got to the point to where the judge said, okay, lead the witness. Like the judge was telling her how to do her job. And I'm thinking, okay, this isn't good. And then and then the judge had to redirect her saying, okay, ask another question, moved on, asked, answered. And then I'm thinking, you're doing a terrible job. This is terrible. Me as a layperson, and I have $7.50 worth of law and Yahoo. But I thought what she did was quite redundant. Then when I looked at Fani Willis, she comes out swinging. You know, you're a liar, you're a liar. This pad is a liar, this file is a liar. You lied on me. And then I'm thinking, okay, you're saying all these things. And Ashley did not refute anything that you said until one of my followers said, you know, she really can't refute, but she can come back to it at a later time. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. That sounds interesting. Okay. So I'm learning something new every day. I'm watching other people's content, people that are lawyers, and I'm thinking, oh, okay. That's why she asked all those questions. But let's get into it. Day 2. I'm going to look at it from a new lens, new perspective, and I still have $7.50 worth of law. And guess what? Yahoo. Okay, here we go. Okay, this gentleman right here, he's getting ready to testify. Okay.
I do. Roy Eugene Barnes, Royeugene, Barnes, Barnes.
Say, good morning, Mr.
Morning.
Barnes. Can you tell the court a little bit about your background as it relates to your service in public service?
I was first elected to the state senate in 1974 from Cobb County, and I served 16 years there. And then in 1990, I ran for governor and was defeated. And 2 years later, I went back to the House of Representatives. I was elected to the House of Representatives, served 6 years until I was elected governor in 1998, and I served in that position until January of 2003.
And after serving in the position of governor, can you tell the court a little bit about what you transitioned into after your public service?
I did exactly what I was doing before. I was elected. I went back to practicing law in Marietta, Georgia, with my daughter, who's now a judge of the state court, and myself. I think 6 or 7 lawyers. Charlie Bailey back there was one of them at one time.
Okay. And Governor Barnes, would you consider yourself to be a trial lawyer?
Yes.
Okay.
We don't write contracts or we don't write wills. All we do is try cases.
And I want to direct your attention back to 2021, where you approached by the District Attorney of Fulton County, Fani Willis, about being a special prosecutor?
I was. I don't recall the exact date, but I know it was sometime in 2021. And she asked me. I met with her and Nathan Wade, and there were several other in the meeting. Said they were beginning this investigation, and she asked me if I'd be interested in being special prosecutor, to which I replied that I had mouths to feed at a law office, and that I would not do that. And also, I just had a bad, well, I won't say bad because it happens from time to time, but I just had the FBI to report a fella, a militia trainer, to me that said they were concerned that he was making threats against me, and because I thought it was because of the flag, but I asked him, and he said no, it was because I was too close to the Jews, quote unquote. And I told I'd lived with bodyguards for 4 years, and I didn't like it, and I wasn't going to live with bodyguards for the rest of my life.
So ultimately, you turned down.
Yes. Yeah, I told her. I said, I'm not interested.
Nothing further from the state.
Ms. Merchant.
Morning, Governor Barnes. How are
Morning.
you?
Just fine. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You said it was sometime in 2021. Do you remember?
I think it
early?
was. I don't remember the dates. They all go. I could look it up on my calendar at the office, but I don't have that.
Well, I want to ask you about some statements that Ms. Willis made March 28th, 2021. She was talking about assembling a team for this case. Are you familiar with her work assembling a team for this case?
Well, I assume that's what she was talking to me about. But besides that, I don't know.
And I know you had said you had a meeting with some folks, and Mr. Wade was at that meeting?
Correct.
Okay. So he was with the district attorney interviewing you about taking this case?
Well, of course, I know Nathan very well, as you do.
Yes.
And I exchanged pleasantries with him, but the conversation was with Ms. Willis.
Okay, with Ms. Willis. Were you aware at the time that her team consisted of Brian Watkins, Megan Vargas, Sonia Allen, Shannon Trotty, Sal Chan, and John Floyd? She had reported that was her team on this case.
I know John Floyd was involved, and she probably told me the others, but listen, I barely remember what case I tried last year, much less every word that was said in the conversation.
I understand, fair enough. But she said she was looking to hire more lawyers and investigators to work on this case?
She told me, it was to me, she said, would you be interested in being special prosecutor in this case? And I gave the reply that I've already known. I mean, about hiring other lawyers or whatever, I don't know. All I can testify to is what she told me.
Did she tell you at all why she wanted to hire special counsel and not use someone who was an ADA, not have an actual employee?
No, she did not. I mean, we did not discuss that, and but I would assume it was because in a case as big as this that you'd have to have a decision. Has been in some cases over the years out in Cobb County, for example, and others.
Would you agree that an employee of her office, someone who was paid a state salary or a county salary as an ADA, could handle a case like this?
I couldn't tell you that unless I knew the person, knew their experience, and really had been with them in a courtroom.
All right.
I has an opinion on that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Sit down.
Hello, Mr. Sadow.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
I hope you're well.
I'm doing fine, just getting older, but that beats all things.
That's true, but that applies to all of us, I believe.
Yeah.
I think you indicated that if you had your calendar, you'd be able to pinpoint a date for us.
I would.
Is there a way for you, for example, to contact your folks to see if you can get a date?
I guess I could. I archive those, but I assume I could.
Would you be willing to give that a shot for us?
I mean, I'll do whatever the court instructs.
So if I ask the court and the court says,
Go ahead and you could do it, that's all right?
I'll do whatever the court instructs.
I hear you.
And you should too.
I'm not always successful, but I try. If I pinpoint a date, for example, I think the record is clear that Mr. Wade was hired for the position on November 1 of 2021. Does that help you at all?
No, it does not.
Okay. Then let's go to the meeting. It sounds like it was just one meeting.
Yes.
And could you tell us where that meeting took place, if you
It was
remember?
in the conference room adjacent to the district attorney's office.
So was it in this, or the adjoining building?
It was in the Lewis Slayton building.
And District Attorney Willis was there, obviously, right?
Yes. Yes.
And Mr. Wade was there?
The best I recall, like anything that far away, but that's my record.
Present.
Yeah, there was some other folks, but I don't remember.
Do you remember, were you introduced to Mr. Wade by anything other than you already knew him? Was he given a
No,
title
I
or
wouldn't
anything?
have known.
So at least as you're there, if I heard you correctly, Miss Willis did all the talking, Mr. Wade did not.
I mean, we exchanged pleasantries, but as far as the basis of the conversation, the reason I was there, Ms. Willis did the talk.
And would you be able to give us an estimate how long this meeting lasted? Just rough.
Probably an hour.
And during the meeting, you made it clear, but it was the thanks for the offer, but no thank you.
Oh, yes, I did. As I said, I started off as a prosecutor, and for about 10 or 15 years, I did nothing but criminal. And then, but I've tried to move away from it and do primarily civil now. Mr. Gillen and I have done some white-collar cases over in federal court. I've got one over there right now. But it's generally business related, where I have a client that's got a kid or him getting indicted. And the case I have over there now is an alleged fraud case.
Fair to say that based on your career and the work that you've done, you've handled high-profile cases, correct?
I have. I've handled some pretty good cases. I sued Syria one time for beheading a client of mine, recovered $82 million. I guess that's the best. See, I tried that up in D.C.
And what would be considered complex cases, you've handled those as well, correct?
Yes, I mean we regularly do mass torts, business torts, breach of contract, and most of those are complex, requiring many experts. We also do malpractice. I did malpractice defense for about 25 years, but since I've returned from the governor's office, I try not to represent an insurance company anymore, and I just tried a malpractice case before Judge Edlin in November. And those are complex cases because of the type of, medical knowledge and that you have to have, and also because of the many experts that you have.
Thank you. Did Miss Willis, and this is the last question, did Miss Willis tell you why she had sought you, why you had been her choice?
No, I hadn't, but, I get consulted fairly often on major cases.
Would you believe, based on circumstances in which you were given the offer, that it had to do with the fact that you had handled complex and high-profile cases in the past?
It could have been. I know her very well. I tried a case against her. She worked for the JQC, and I represented Judge Robert Crawford, Mac Crawford, and she prosecuted him, and I turned it around at the Supreme Court.
So you had some experience with
Oh, I had plenty of experience with it. She's a very qualified young, well, everybody's young to me, but she's a very qualified young woman.
After that, that one occasion, did you have any other contact with her in reference to the position itself or who she might be considering?
You know, I had some conversations with her or Jeff DeSantis or some of those, but not really an in-depth, you know, about who she should hire or anything like that.
Did the name Nathan Wade come up in those conversations
No.
with her?
No.
No, right?
No. Nathan was there, I thought. Now, I could be mistaken, but I thought Nathan was there when
For the
I think
conference?
Nathan was. I'm positive Nathan was there when I met with him.
Right, and my question was probably poorly worded, but what I was asking is after the conference and whatever consulting you might have done,
Yes.
did Ms. Willis or Mr. DeSantis bring up the name Nathan Wade as a special prosecutor?
I don't think so. I don't recall one. I mean, Nathan is a good organizer. You know, Nathan can organize stuff. I've watched him over the years. So I wasn't surprised that he was acting as a special prosecutor.
And Mr. DeSantis, for the record, who was that? Jeff DeSantis?
Jeff DeSantis.
Do you know who he is?
Oh, yes.
Could you tell us who he is for the record?
Jeff works in the DA's office. I knew him when he worked for Thurber Baker.
Do you know what his role in the DA's office is?
I have no earthly idea.
Is he in media? Does that sound familiar?
He has done media in the past. Jeff has generally been, I like Jeff, and I'm very close to him, but he's generally been on the other side of my campaigns.
All right, so election conference, we don't have the date. I'm asking if you could possibly get it, but the conference you have, Mr. Wade could have been there,
Yes, I'm almost sure he was there.
and Ms. Willis, obviously, and Mr. DeSantis was there.
I think Mr. DeSantis was too.
And as far as whether there was anyone else there, you don't
I
have a
don't
present
know.
recollection.
No.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Next time I'll take a picture so I'll have an exact,
Next time, hopefully, you won't have to be here.
well, hopefully not.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Mr. Stockton?
No questions, Judge.
Thank you.
Mr. Durham?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McDougall?
No questions for the governor, Your Honor.
Mr. Rice?
No questions, Judge.
Mr. Gillen?
I've been waiting for this.
I couldn't give up the chance getting up here, Governor. Good to see you again.
Good to see you,
We've
Craig.
done some work in the past together, haven't we?
I consider you to be one of my best friends and a crackerjack lawyer.
Well, I will say to you on the record that I can understand why they came to see you because you're the finest lawyer that I've ever worked with.
Thank you. I need to put you in the next day.
Yeah, there you go. We'll get that. But I got one or two more questions.
Okay.
You and I working together when it's appropriate. We've had no to disqualify the DA, have we?
No.
Matter of fact, you and I successfully disqualified the DA out in Cobb County in the Brown case, didn't we?
We did.
So whatever needs to be done should be
You
done.
represent your client.
You got that. Thank you so much.
Mr. Coturo, are you still with us by Zoom?
I am, Your Honor.
All right, any questions? And Mr. Cromwell from Ms. Lake? All right, any redirect, Mr. Abadi? Can this witness be excused?
Your Honor, is there a way that we could potentially ask for you for that date if you can get it?
The question is, you want the exact date that the meeting occurred?
Yes, if you can get that.
And I'm wondering if we can, if it's really material, the exact date rather than just its proximity to the November 1st hiring. Is that fair? If he knows whether it was far earlier in the year versus maybe closer, would that obviate the need for the exact date?
If you can't get the exact date, of course, we'll take the best we can get.
Okay, let's start there.
All right. Let me
I think, well,
look
you
around.
may take care of it for us, just if we hold in place here.
I'm not sure of this.
Well, let me try this first, Governor Barnes, before you do a deep dive in the email there. Do you recall what time of year it was when this meeting occurred?
I'm afraid not.
Okay.
I mean, you know how this is. The cases and the days move together. I had a fellow a few years ago that said I represented him in 1978, and I told him I'd take his word for it.
Now, I gotta ask, you wouldn't
do that if it was a question of him saying he just paid you.
No, I would not. I will tell you, I believe lawyers should be well paid, Mr. Senator.
All right, so sir, is that something?
I'll have to look. It didn't come up right.
Okay. All right, we'll ask this witness to step down, subject to recall, and that might be something the state can present with stipulation as well. All right, thank you, sir.
I thought that was quite interesting. Now,
Do we have an update on Mr. Bradley?
he said that Fani Willis beat him in a case, and I'm like, oh wow, it's very qualified. Okay, who's coming
The
next?
last estimation I heard was about 11:30.
Okay. If that's still the case, then Ms. Cross, did you have another witness available?
But having brought over, it's Mr. John Floyd, not the special prosecutor John Floyd. John Floyd, District Attorney Willis's father.
Okay. And is he heading this way?
Yes.
All right.
I thought that was Fanny. That's not Fanny. I saw her yesterday. It was Fanny. Who's coming? Okay, let me hurry this along.
All right. Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
And I didn't learn about the equipment.
Right. Okay. Understood. Ms. Cross.
Yes, sir. Mr. Abate will,
Mr. John Floyd.
Mr. Floyd, if you could have a seat, sir.
I approach the witness quickly.
Thank you. I do.
Please state the spell your full name for the court.
My name is John Clifford Floyd III.
Say, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Can you tell the court, are you currently retired?
Yes, I am.
And prior to being retired, can you tell the court a little bit about, did you work in the legal career? Were you a
I
lawyer?
was an attorney. I practiced law. I've probably tried 1,000 cases. About 50% of my practice in of it was family law, and the rest was whatever walked through the front door could pay for it.
Okay. And
Could we wait 1 second? The governor's come back. He might
I
have
do. My calendar shows it was October 26, 2021.
All right. And would defense counsel accept it as a stipulation, or is there any follow-up questioning needed on that? Mr. Barnes is still considered under oath on this point. All right. I'm just going to look for a show of hands or for someone to speak now on Zoom, and hearing none. Thank you, sir. You're excused.
sir, can you tell the court, are you from Atlanta?
No, I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I spent most of my legal career, I would say, in Washington, D.C. was kind of the circle, but I've tried cases all over the country, and I tried the longest. I was the first lawyer to try an international criminal court. I was with the International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda. I was in trial there for 4.5 years in Arusha, Tanzania, and Hague in the Netherlands.
Okay. And when you weren't there, it sounds like your kind of center of gravity was Washington, D.C.
Correct. Virginia, Maryland, Florida, I mean, California.
All
yes.
over.
Yes.
And do you, sir, can you tell the court?
I have one daughter, Fani Willis.
Okay. And I want to direct your attention back to 2019, okay?
Yes.
Back in 2019, can you tell the court, did you move here to Atlanta?
I was living in Johannesburg, South Africa. And unfortunately, for some reasons, I could not get in from the practice of law in 2018, I moved to South Africa, and I had to leave South Africa, and I did then come to Atlanta.
Okay, and do you, sir, remember about the time period in 2019 when you moved in with your daughter here in Atlanta?
It would have been the spring or summer of 2019.
And after you moved here, did you get a driver's license to kind of confirm your residency in Atlanta?
Well, my driver's license for the District of Columbia was going to expire on my birthday, which is in October. And yes, I did get a license here in the state of Georgia.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Okay.
You can just take a look at what's been marked as State's
Okay, Your Honor, would you, if you don't mind, my eyes are very bad, which is one of the reasons I retired, and so I need a magnifying glass, so I'll be
Whatever you
constantly
need.
playing. Thank you.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, I see it was issued on 9/28/2019.
Okay, so before we get there, do you recognize State's Exhibit 2?
Yes, just my driver's license.
And is State's Exhibit 2 a fair and accurate copy of your physical driver's license?
Absolutely.
This time, Your Honor, the State would tender what's been marked as State's Exhibit 2 into evidence.
Seeing no other objections, it's submitted. State's Exhibit 2 is submitted for the record.
Now, and for the record, Your Honor, the State is going to supplement State's Exhibit 2 with a redacted copy of the license. The current copy is not redacted, with the address and things of that
All
nature.
right. Do we need to mark that differently in any way?
I will mark it as State's Exhibit 2A.
Perfect.
Now, you talked about when your driver's license was issued. Can you tell the court when was that driver's license here, your Georgia driver's license issued?
It was on 9/28/2019.
Okay, so September 28th, 2019. Now, when you moved into District Attorney Willis's home, who lived there?
Well, I lived there, and from time to time, my grandchildren would come.
Okay, and did your grandchildren, were they at school coming and going?
Exactly. I think they were in school in various jurisdictions.
And during the time, how long did you live at or with Miss Willis and at her home here in Fulton County?
She was forced to move after she was elected. I don't know if you want me to go through the whole thing, but that, Your Honor, if Your Honor will indulge me. After she was sworn in on January 1 of 2021. And on or about the 3rd of February, at probably 5:30 a.m. in the morning, there were people cursing and yelling and calling her the B word and the N word, and just, it was.
Pause, sir. Mr. Urbani. Here's the objection to you.
Nobody was present while all of these things were occurring, but I can.
No, that's. And he's saying he was personally present to hear these things?
Yes.
Okay, overruled.
Okay, and fortunately, the neighbors called the police and disbanded the group, and it was just, I hadn't seen anything exactly like it before.
Okay, and after that happened, can you tell the court that Ms. Willis would have to move from her home?
Yes, she was forced to leave.
Okay. And can you tell the court after she was forced to leave, shortly after she was sworn in, did you remain at her home in Fulton County?
Yes, I stayed there really until 2022, I guess.
And from what you described, did you fear for her safety?
Absolutely. Not only did I do that, the South Fulton police, they brought a man with a dog, because there have been so many death threats. They were going to kill her. They were going to kill me. They were going to kill my grandchildren. I mean, on and on and on. It just, it became, and I was concerned for her safety.
And after your attention and after what you heard and saw that day, you remained at the house?
Yes.
And can you tell the court, with what you just described, why did you remain living at the district attorney's home here in Fulton County?
Mr. Buck?
I believe it's relevant based on a lot of the questions that were asked yesterday of Ms. Willis as to about the security threat and the fact that it was implied that those threats were not necessarily real in the sense that Mr. Floyd remained in the home. They were remained, and her children could still come and go to the house. I think it's relevant based to the testimony that was elicited from defense counsels.
Wow, that is something.
Overruled.
Her
Well,
life being
these
threatened like that.
South Fulton police, first they put a car in front of the house that was there permanently. Thing one. Thing two, they brought a person with a dog sometimes more than once a day, twice a day, and they would circle the house to look for bombs. I knew that that was a house that my daughter had worked for. It was a brand new house. She's the only one who had ever lived there. It's a 4-bedroom, brand new house, and somebody needed to protect the house, and I stayed there to basically take care of the house, to take care of the yard, to take care of that. Also, somebody sprayed, again, the B word and the N word on the house, and I don't think my daughter even knew that. I cleaned it off and called the police, and South Fulton police, they have, I'm sure, all the records of all the things that happened. And all of the neighbors, I notified all the neighbors to look out and to watch out. And it was so crazy. I mean, it was just so crazy. We'd have people would show up and park car. There was a guy parked for probably 8 hours out in front of the house. You know, it was just, and we'd call the police and, you know.
Now, at the time that you...
Now, I gotta say, wow, just because she was elected DA, house was graffitied on, people came to her house, called her names, called her B's, called her N's. Wow, just for being DA. And this is what? 2021. I hope we can do better as a people. Wow.
Lived there with Miss Willis, and I guess even when you remained 19 to the end of 2020. Are you aware if Miss Willis was dating someone?
Yeah, she did. She had a boyfriend when I first got there.
And did you meet her boyfriend?
Yeah, I met him often.
Okay, and did you know him by any specific nickname?
Yeah, Deuce.
Okay, and while you were living there, how often would you see him?
Sometimes every day, sometimes, every other day. He was a disc jockey or something, and he had all this paraphernalia that I'd have to move out. It was a thing with the keyboard, things that play music and so forth. So.
Now, when you moved in 2019, and then throughout the years in year 2020, 2021, had you ever met someone named Nathan Wade?
I did not meet Nathan Wade until 2023, about a year ago, when a reporter by the name of Issakoff interviewed me. I met him. That was the first time I had met him.
You said that was in 2023?
2023, right.
And I know you said you hadn't met him until 2023, but when you were living at Ms. Willis's house in Fulton County, did you ever meet Mr. Wade in the year 2019?
Absolutely not.
How about in the year 2020?
Absolutely not.
Did you ever see Mr. Wade at Ms. Willis's Fulton County house in the year 2021?
Never.
And is it your testimony that the only time or the first time that you met Mr. Wade was in 2023?
Let me say something. Mr. Wade said that he remembers seeing me, and I do remember some banter. I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity, and there's kind of this thing that goes on between fraternities, and Mr. Wade is a member of Alpha Phi Alpha, and they, I do remember there was some kind of banter when my daughter was sworn in to be district attorney between me and a couple of guys, and he said he remembers me. I don't remember him.
And prior to that experience that you're talking about, as well as, I guess, your official meeting in 2023, had you ever even heard his name?
No, never.
I don't think I have any further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Merchant.
Yes, thank you, Judge.
You, counsel.
Good, thank you. Just got a couple questions. On Monday, we heard you were in California. Do you have a place in California?
People always ask me about where do I live. I guess I live right here sitting in this seat right now. But yes, the answer is I have a place in Los Angeles.
Okay, you do. All right. So do you share time or split time between Los Angeles and Georgia?
Actually, I'm working, and I'm supposed to be being filmed, not for this trial, but I'm supposed to be being filmed right now. It was planned, and we had to stop it because they asked me to come here. But the answer is I'm working on a documentary, and
I'll be in California until I finish the documentary if we don't have another actor strike and we don't have another writer strike.
So do you own property in California?
No, I don't. I live with a friend of mine.
You live with a friend of yours. Okay.
Yeah.
And when did you first move? Let me qualify with the dates. Did you spend any time in 2019 in California?
No, and the reason I didn't is that when I first came here, the answer is no, I did not. What happened was COVID. Once COVID hit, I was just paralyzed. I couldn't go any place. I couldn't go anything. I mean, I'm a theater buff. I used to go to theater at least once a week. But when COVID hit, I just couldn't. I couldn't go to the dentist, which I...
Okay, I got to say something. Now, he's real Southern because I've noticed down south, people say theater. Up north, people say theater. Tomato, but I thought that was quite interesting. Okay, back to this.
Need to do. Well, I just, it was just a thing. So I was just stuck. I was just stuck there.
I may be wrong, but I believe COVID hit in 2020. So I was asking about 2019. In 2019, did you spend any time in California?
Before COVID was even here in the United States, remember I lived in South Africa and I've traveled the world. I knew COVID was coming before. I knew COVID was around before. They may have announced it in 20, but in fact, I knew about it and I knew what was happening in 19.
Okay, so let's walk through 2019 then. You said you moved here in September. So
no, I didn't say that. I moved here probably prior to September. In September is when I got the driver's license. I probably moved in the springtime.
I'm sorry, you did. You said spring, summer. I see that in my notes. So spring, summer 2019 is when you moved here. So up until spring, summer 2019, where did you live?
I lived in Johannesburg. Well, I lived in Washington, D.C., 2018. I had planned to retire for the rest of my life in South Africa. I had worked for Nelson Mandela and the Free Mandela and get that. And someone I'd gone to law school, he had located there after Mandela was freed from prison and became president.
Do you hear that? He is masterfully putting in information that is patterning his, how can I say, continuously patterning his qualifications. He said that he lived in South Africa, that he was one of the few Americans that went to The Hague to try a case about Rwanda in the World Court. Wow. Fani, this is how you do. Oh, this is how you do it. Your dad is showing you. Okay.
I was going to live there for the rest of my life, but unfortunately, because of political reasons, I could not stay in South Africa, and I was forced, in a sense, to come back to the United States.
Okay, so let's just focus in on the period from, let's just start with October 2019, okay? We'll call that the relevant period. October 2019 until the end of 2019. Were you in Georgia every single day of that year?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now let's move to 2020, okay? And every single day, before I move on, every single day in 2019, you slept at your daughter's house, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So let's start in 2020. All right. So 2020, the entire year, did you travel anywhere?
No.
Okay. You didn't travel at all that year?
No.
So,
And I didn't go to the movies, which upset me also.
So that entire year, 2020, you remained here in Georgia?
Right.
Okay. In 2021, did you do any traveling?
No.
So when did you move back, or when did you start this document?
Wait a minute, this guy is good. He said, I didn't go anywhere, and I didn't go to the movies, and that saddened me. I mean, just trying to shut her down. Like, give her no wiggle room, and she keeps on coming back. Keep on coming back. Okay. Ashley Merchant, you're going to drive me nuts. Oh, and matter of fact, let me show you this real quick. This right here, when you look over at Ashley, she's sitting right next to her husband. Her husband is here on the case with her. So it's going to be quite interesting. Okay.
Documentary film in Los Angeles.
What I had been doing to occupy time as I was writing my own memoir. As I delved into my family background, I discovered something, and that's what got me to working on the documentary. So I want you to understand what was going on in my life. I pitched I have a movie script called Bad Blood. I have a movie script we're trying to sell. So I tried to sell that, and I just happened to mention something that happened during the civil rights movement. SNCC, it's called the SNCC 5. The legendary Peter Fitzsimmons was interested, and so with Peter Fitzsimmons and Leah Smith, we're now doing the documentary. So
I don't want to interrupt you, but what I was asking was when you moved to Los Angeles, not what you moved there for.
Well, you keep saying moved. I haven't moved to Los Angeles. I spent more time in California, in Oakland, if you really want to just be, because Peter is basically San Francisco based. So we're working on the documentary.
Okay.
I was in Los Angeles because I was going to the Pan-African Film Festival, and that's why we were there. And the way Hollywood works is, when you make connections, and film festivals are a place to try to sell ideas and meet people and organize things.
You still own property in Washington, D.C., correct?
No, I don't.
You don't own property at 1467 Roxana Road Northwest?
That's where I used to live.
That's where you used to live. Did you own that property?
Yes.
Okay. And you owned that property when you moved here in 2019?
Yes.
And you owned it in 2020, correct?
Well, you talk about a very complicated issue. I left the property. There was a dispute between me, and I had gotten a reverse mortgage company, and there was a dispute between me and and I just I walked away from it.
Okay, you walked away from it with almost $300,000.
Yeah, what is the relevance of that?
Where he lived and registered to vote. That's what they brought in. So that's.
Why is the money he got from the sale relevant at all?
It's the only proof I have of that he owned that address. So I can move on though. Right. Okay. When did you sell that property?
I didn't. The reverse mortgage company.
Okay, you see what I'm talking about? How she keeps on asking the same question over and over again, and a judge had to tell her to move on. Now, I don't know if he has a lawyer there or not to say, hey, move on. But the judge had to stop and tell her, what is the relevance of the money? It's like, he's not on trial. It's wild. That's what I'm talking about.
Took it.
Oh, okay. So in 2019, when you got your driver's license here,
Yes.
the next day you registered to vote, correct?
I think it may have been the same day, but maybe it was the next day. I don't remember.
But you didn't own property here in Georgia that day?
No, I was living with my daughter.
You said that you met Mr. Wade, that you remember you met in 2023, right? That was the first time you
Correct.
remember? Okay. And I wasn't really clear. You said something about meeting him. Was it with Mr. Isikoff, or did Mr. Isikoff tell you?
No, I was being interviewed by Mr. Isikoff.
Okay.
And he walked in, and I met him. That was the first time. He walked into the office and
Where were you being interviewed?
at the district attorney's office.
And Mr. Wade walked into that interview?
Yes.
And so Ms. Willis had not told you about Mr. Wade prior to that?
Absolutely not.
So she didn't tell you anything about their relationship before you met him that day?
No.
But Mr. Wade remembers meeting you in 2020?
He said,
I mean, okay, look, I find that rather interesting. Now, Fani has a relationship with this disc jockey or this DJ that brings his equipment to her house. And she moved into a 4-bedroom house. But Fani never introduced Wade, Nathan Wade, to her father. And it might be because he was still married, legal. Well, in his mind, he was divorced back in 2015 when his wife had an extramarital affair. And he said, we're divorced. We're going to wait until our children graduate. Then I'm going on with my life. But apparently he had to have some relationships with other women to wait, because that was like about, what, 6 years? 7 years before he filed for a divorce. So I just find that interesting about Fani. Okay.
Said that at my daughter's swearing in. I do remember that we having some banner about fraternities, but other than that.
Oh, at your daughter swearing in. Okay.
Right.
That's all I have. Just one moment. Nothing else. Thank you.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you, counsel?
I'm fine. I'll try to ask you some specific questions if we could, okay?
And I'll give specific answers if I can.
Perfect.
Okay.
The driver's license address, I'm not going to publish. That is State's Exhibit number 2. But is the address on that driver's license the home that you're referring to as your daughter's in South Fulton?
Absolutely.
Okay. It was unclear to me, maybe no one else, but it's unclear to me, when did you stop living at what I would call your daughter's home in South Fulton?
Things got so bad and threats got so many, even against me, that the house became basically uninhabitable. I got tired of sleeping in one room one day and one that. I would say December of 2022, something like that.
December of 2022.
Right. That's about right. Yeah.
Now, let me change and go back for another date. You had indicated, and I didn't hear it, when was your daughter, Miss Willis, when was she sworn in as district attorney?
On January 1, 2021.
Okay. And did you indicate that there was an incident, and I know you've described it, was that incident on February the 3rd, 2021?
That's my best recollection.
Okay. So my question then is, after February 3rd of 2021, how much longer did Miss Willis stay at the house before she moved somewhere else?
Very short period of time, and I cannot be precise, but I would bet all the money I ever made, it wasn't more than a month and a half, if that long.
Okay, so we're talking about, best of your recollection, end of February into the beginning of March, give or take, of 2021, when Miss Willis would have moved to a different location.
Exactly.
Okay. And did Miss Willis return to the house, that is, the house that you were in, at any point in time that you can remember?
From time to time, she and her security might show up for her to pick something up or take something or something, but she always would come with her security.
Okay, my question was poorly worded, I apologize. Did she come back permanently to her house?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay,
absolutely not.
So as far as you're aware, that once Miss Willis left the house, her house, South Fulton House, so the record's clear, in either late February or into March of 2021, best of your recollection, she's not returned to that home to live.
No, it became uninhabitable. I mean, it just, I mean,
that's okay.
I would have to walk around that house looking out of every window. I made a habit of having to walk around the whole house. I got lights so that if somebody would come at night in the back, so that those kinds of reflecting lights, I had those put up.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Okay.
All I was interested in is whether she had ever returned.
No, the answer is no.
Okay. Now, when Miss Willis, when your daughter left the home, time period, end of February, beginning of March, give or take, 2021, do you know where she moved to?
No, and I didn't want to know. I intentionally did not want to know, because I was not, if somebody stuck a gun to my head and I could tell them, I wasn't going to tell them anyway, or I'd have made up something, but I didn't want to know.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that if you didn't want to know, you never visited her at the place that she moved to?
Oh, I never did.
Never did?
Never did.
Okay. Do you know how long she stayed at the first place that she went to after she left her house before she moved to a second place?
What I know, and this is hearsay, counsel, is that my daughter has had to move something like 4 times.
But do you know any potential?
No, I don't know any place. I was taken one time for Christmas Day. I've only seen my daughter, and this is very hard for me to say, but during the period my daughter left, I've only seen my daughter 13 times, because I can't, and we've never seen each other more than maybe 3 hours because of, the nightmare threats against her and me.
And I understand that, and from the perspective of being a father myself, I understand what that means. So I'm going to move away from that. I was just trying to get an idea date-wise, okay? So let me try to get one more date. In 2023, when you were being interviewed by one of the gentlemen that wrote the book at the DA's office, and Mr. Wade came in, can you give us, other than 2023, what the date would be?
I'm sorry, I can't, counsel.
How about spring, summer, any idea?
I would guess spring or summer, but I can't.
Okay.
I don't. I'm sorry.
And you've already indicated, at least to your recollection, that was the first time that you'd met Mr. Wade.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I'm not arguing with you about that. I want to go to Miss Willis's boyfriend that you referenced. Okay, you met Miss Willis's boyfriend, as you've characterized it, when you came here in 2019.
Correct.
And you met him on one occasion, several occasions?
Oh, no, I saw him often.
Oh, so you mean there was no secret that she was dating this man?
Not from me.
Not from you.
And he was a disc jockey of some kind. I think he had a government job during the day. I don't know what it was, but apparently he would do weddings and so forth and so on. He was a disc jockey, play music. So he had all his stuff was always in the way, and I was always having to try to push it aside. And anyway.
But Miss Willis, your daughter didn't keep him from you, correct?
No.
No, I mean, there was no doubt.
We lived in, my daughter and I lived in the same house. I mean, he came and went,
Right. Now, when did you learn that your daughter had a romantic, personal relationship with Mr. Wade?
Well, about 7 weeks ago, when as a matter of fact, I just found out when other folks found out. Okay.
But as your daughter, as I understand it, never told you one time in the year of 2022 that she was dating Mr. Wade, correct?
That's correct.
And until recently, you didn't know from anyone, including your daughter, that she dated Mr. Wade, correct?
That's correct.
That is, whatever the relationship is between father and daughter, she kept that a secret from you, correct?
Correct.
That's all I need to know.
Mr. Stockton.
No.
Good morning, Mr.
Good morning.
Floyd.
Correct. Good morning, Counsel.
When your daughter moved or left the house that she owned, did she say anything to you about having a large savings of cash?
Oh, no, no. See, maybe, excuse me, and Your Honor, I'm not trying to be racist, okay? But it's a black thing, okay? You know, I was trained, and most black folks, they hide cash or they keep cash. And I trained, you always keep some cash, because I've been places, and just because of the color of my skin, for example, I took a fellowship at Harvard when my daughter was just, if I might, Your Honor, when I was just, she was just, maybe 3 years old. And I remember going to a restaurant in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and I had a American Express credit card and maybe a Visa or whatever. And I had a lot of what they call traveler's checks. I don't even know if they still have traveler's checks, but traveler's checks. And there was a sign said, with the credit card. For whatever reasons, the man would not take my American Express credit card. So I pulled out my Visa card, and he wouldn't take my Visa card. So then I pulled out my traveler's checks. He said, we don't take checks. Now, these were traveler's checks. This was money. I had a $10 bill. I'll never forget this as long as I live. And he said, the bill for my wife at the time, Fani's mother, Fani, and myself was like $9.95, and I had a $10 bill. That was all that. And I always remember that. But even before that, I've always kept cash, and I've told my daughter, you keep 6 months worth of cash always. For example, I had 3 safes in my house. I put some of my clients' stuff there too, things I didn't want other lawyers to be, because you're always in a firm, and I knew that there were special conditions, so some of my clients.
Now, what he's saying is absolutely correct. And not to be racist, as he's saying, is that, black families, most black families, especially down south, you had to keep cash on you due to the racial issue, as he was so eloquently explaining without saying, hey, this is, this was a racist situation. But, yeah. We were basically taught to do that, because you never know where you may go. You never know what type of people you may run into, and to be able to negotiate whatever you need, as Fani said during her testimony. So that right there's a true thing. Matter of fact, if you ever go back and look at that movie called Vanessa Williams was in it, Big Mama's House, to where her mother kept all of the money in the TV, because you would never know. Okay, having said that, okay.
Things I would bring home, put them in the safe, but I've always kept safes. And as a matter of fact, I gave my daughter her first cash box and told her always keep some cash.
So is that a yes?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's all I got, Judge.
Mr. Durham.
No questions.
Mr. McDougald.
No questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Rice.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gillen.
It's still morning. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Counsel. How are you?
Just fine. Just a few questions following up. When you were talking about when you learned about Mr. Wade and your daughter, correct?
Correct.
Now, did your daughter tell you in around October of 2022 that she had gone on a Caribbean cruise with Mr. Wade to the Bahamas?
The answer is I knew that my daughter had gone, but I did not know who she went with or what the circumstances were. So I knew that she had gone out of town, but I didn't know with whom.
I see. And did she tell you in November of 2022 that she had gone to Aruba and stayed at the Hyatt Regency Resort there in Aruba for 3 days with Mr. Wade? Did she tell you that?
The answer was, again, I knew she went out of town. I didn't even know where she went. I knew she was going out of town. She told me she was going out of town. I think she might have said she was going out of the country or something. She'd be gone. But other than that, that was all.
Okay. And did she tell you in March of 2023 that she was going to Belize for several days with Mr. Wade?
The same answer, that I knew she would tell me she was going out of town, and she may or may not have told me where she was going, but she'd be gone for a couple of days.
Okay. Now, in 2023, you were in many days you would be out in California, correct?
Some days I'd be in California, correct.
Okay. Well, did she tell you in May of 2023 that she was traveling to Napa Valley with Mr. Wade, so maybe y'all could see each other when she visited California with Mr. Wade?
The answer is no.
And so the first time that you ever met Mr. Wade or learned about Mr. Wade, to your recollection, was in 2023?
That's correct.
That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Kucherov, on Zoom.
Yes, Ron, just a couple quick questions. Good morning, sir. I know I can't see you.
I can't see you either, but
We can take a moment.
good morning, Counsel.
We can take a moment. Let's just pause, see if we can change the screens to show Mr. Kucherov. Sorry. We need
Your Honor, I'm on a phone, so it's kind of difficult.
Can you turn your screen on now?
I'm trying to.
You know, as they're doing that, I thought it was quite interesting how, because the way they made it seem was that Fani never told her father anything. He just was completely in the dark. But that's not true. She's told her dad, I'm going out of town, I'm going up overseas. Just didn't say
all right, there we go.
with whom. And which I get, because she
sir,
didn't let her dad know.
You seem to know about the issue of cash in this transaction. You said it was a black thing. How did you know that the cash was going to be an issue in this testimony?
Because I was asked for it, and I was prepped by the lawyers, and they asked me about it. What else?
And did you speak with Mr. Wade about your testimony?
No.
Did you speak with your daughter about your testimony?
He looks like you idiot.
She
No.
may have been present when the lawyers were. I really don't remember.
If Mr. Wade and your daughter were dating, you wouldn't have known that unless your daughter told you.
What do you? Maybe I'm not understanding your question, Counsel. So maybe you want to restate. What is it that you're asking me?
Yeah, if it wasn't clear, I can re-ask the question. I'll rephrase it.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Mr. Wade. If Mr. Wade and your daughter were dating, you wouldn't have known that unless your daughter told you.
I did not know that they were dating. And when were you talking about the cash? I didn't know that. I don't know what you're asking me. What I told my child from the time she was a child is always have some money. Always have some money. If you go on a date so that people don't try to stick you and you want to leave whoever, always keep some cash, okay?
Mr. Floyd, you answered the question that the attorneys prepped you for that, so that's all I wanted to know.
Anything else, Mr. Kucherov?
That's it, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cromwell.
I'm going to say this real quick. He's absolutely right. I remember some years ago, before I got married, I went out on a date with this guy, and I had a rule of not venturing too far away from where I live. because for safety reasons. And also I carried money because in case if he got silly and said, well, you know, since we went out on a date and I bought you dinner, you're going to have to give me some good times because I spent money on you. Then I could say, well, you know something? No, we're not going to do that. But here, and I have done that once or twice. I pulled out money and paid my portion. He was like, oh, yeah. And then took a cab home. So that right there is a real thing. And I know that women are like, well, you know, he's going to pay for this. He's going to pay for that. Put yourself in a place of power, because in case if he wants to do something that you're not ready to do, you better have that money to pay and also have money to get back home. Just FYI. But having money is a real thing.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Abadi?
Your Honor. Mr. Floyd, now, it wasn't common for your daughter to confide in you about her romantic life at all.
No, and I haven't confided in her about mine before when I had one, okay?
And you wouldn't have known about her boyfriend, the disc jockey.
Hey, Debs.
An objection?
I think that might have just been still off mute.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Now, you wouldn't have known about her boyfriend, the disc jockey, had you not been living with her, correct?
That's correct.
I'll allow overruled.
I have nothing further.
Did he answer the question?
He said that's correct.
All right. By show of hands, any redirect on those points only. Ms. Merchant.
Yes. I just want to know when you were prepped by the lawyers, when this prep session was.
I just got off the plane on, what was it, Tuesday night? I think I was probably drooling at the mouth. I was so tired. So it must have been, I got in Wednesday. It must have been Wednesday.
Okay. And did you talk about any of the testimony from yesterday or watch any news reports or anything like that?
Oh, absolutely. You can't cut the TV on without seeing this. The first thing, and I listen to conservative radio a lot, and, you know, last night for 5 hours, all they talked about was this case.
So you were aware of what the testimony your daughter gave yesterday was?
Yeah, unless you don't cut the radio on, unless you don't cut the television on, unless you don't read the AJC or any other, the New York Times or whatever, which I do every day, yeah, of course.
So is it fair to say nobody instructed you that you were under the rule of sequestration?
Right, and I'm not under subpoena either.
Thank you.
So he wasn't subpoenaed? Wow. Okay, so he just said, okay, I'm going to come and testify. Wow. Okay.
All right, anything else? Seeing and hearing none, thank you, Mr. Floyd.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. It's a pleasure to appear in front of Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I have to say,
Right,
a lot of this salaciousness of the case had a lot to do, in my opinion, with the lawyers leaking information, putting it out there to smear her pretty good, and they did a very good job.
Okay. So
and no
even if
matter where
Mr.
her
Bradley
father
testifies to some extent,
turned,
it's still the potential that the state has no.
he
further
couldn't even watch
witnesses.
TV or hear the news without hearing about his daughter.
This afternoon, but that would be it.
Okay, so there are potentially more state's witnesses. All right.
Judge, before we move on, I'd move to strike the last witness's testimony by violation of the
All right. So I think the rule is invoked, and the instruction was for the parties to.
Okay, I'm going to speed this along.
I've always kept cash.
Okay, not that. I'm sorry.
All right, let's see.
But, so.
Mr. Bradley, when she, wait for her to ask a question.
And I understand that, Judge, and I'm not
Well,
trying to.
apparently you don't, sir. Wait for her to ask a question, and you'll have a chance.
Oh, okay. Let me move back a little bit.
This witness, it appears from the questions that Ms. Merchant had proposed, don't differentiate between what I'm considering three kind of buckets of information that this witness might have. One is communication derived from his representation of Mr. Boyd. Second is any information that he might have from personal knowledge. The third category, which I believe is the substance of what Ms. Merchant wants to go into, is information not derived from personal observation, not derived from communication with Mr. Wade, his client, but gossip, secondhand, thirdhand, speculative things. Ms. Merchant's questions don't differentiate those categories of information. And I'm concerned about the questions being proposed without that qualification so that Mr. Bradley doesn't know when to invoke a privilege. I think the testimony yesterday was he didn't have any personal knowledge of any of this. That was my understanding of the testimony. I believe that was Mr. Bradley's sworn testimony yesterday. And my concern is that the gossip part, the unsourced hearsay, is where we're going to get to really fast.
Sure. And I think that's a fair point. I think she's following the script that she already provided you, so we have more than enough notice of when that might be coming. I think the second she asks a question that you think might weigh into that, make the objection, and we can rephrase if necessary. All right, Ms. Merchant, you can re-ask that last question.
Read an order.
Okay, what I'm going to do, because I have been live streaming for a while now. Let's see, how long have I been live streaming? Okay, for about 2 hours. So I'm going to stop it here and then I'm going to finish it up later. So please like, subscribe. I thought the father was very insightful. I thought that he even helped her some too. And he kept on putting his resume out there. And I thought that was great. Very interesting. But on that note, please, thank you for stopping by. Please like, subscribe, help the algorithm, put something down. On that note, I want to thank you for stopping by.